I reckon it's about 80% of most professions are actually average or not very good. About 10% are reasonably good, 10% are very good. And I say the best way to know who's good is to do what? Be educated? If you have some knowledge about tax, would it help you immensely in knowing if someone's any good? I mean, I've chosen to educate myself now in many, many areas. I don't just rely on doctors for my health anymore. After a massive health breakdown 10 years ago, I've done a lot of training and teaching myself in health and know how to look after myself. I know how to fix flus very quickly, colds. On the plane coming here, because we flew about 5 hours from Perth, there's a guy over here in Queensland who helped me immensely with a health problem 6 months ago, and he recommended some tablets you can buy which completely cure any jet lag. And I mean, we all had them and couldn't believe the difference. We literally didn't feel any tiredness whatsoever. So all kinds of things like that we've now studied to learn to maintain energy levels, look after our health, all that kind of stuff. Likewise, I've chosen to study and teach myself. I've always been outside the box. In business, I try things that nobody else is doing. Sometimes it gets me into trouble. Sometimes it works. Anyone else can relate to that? Yeah. Likewise, with your accounting and tax, I can tell you now, if you're serious about building wealth, and let me ask the question today, who's serious about actually building wealth today, a financial future? Okay. But every hand that went up should also be serious about understanding tax and minimisation and protecting your assets. Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad Poor Dad says that every person who's serious about building wealth should, 1, know about sales and marketing, 2, about the skills of making money in finance, everything else, 3 is on law, and 4 is on accounting and numbers. So I'm covering 2 of the 4 areas that Robert Kiyosaki says you should know about to be serious about building wealth. Robert Kiyosaki lost a fortune because he found his wealth was being misappropriated by his accountant. So he even went and taught himself accounting so he could read his own books. And that does help me a lot, I must admit, in my own business, is the fact that I can read books. And so I always say a bookkeeper would do well to defraud me because I can pick up financials, read them, and generally straight away know what's going on. So the key is it's very important to have an understanding about tax, asset protection, and know this. So that's hence why I'm giving you a bit of an introduction today. That's why 21st Century has a 4-hour DVD on tax minimisation, asset protection, which I did back in Melbourne a year ago, to teach and educate you. It's all about education and knowing enough so you can basically keep your accountant accountable. In fact, I'm thinking of doing my next DVD on making your accountant accountable. Who likes that idea? So, blindly trusting your accountant to fix the problem. Successful solution is learning how the law works and understanding the law, the tax asset protection. Applying what you've learned and dealing with advisors that millionaires or people doing what you're doing does. Because if you're doing options trading or forex trading or internet marketing or vendor finance properties or anything else, but accountants you're dealing with don't actually know the area, do you think you'll get the maximum claims you should be getting? No, you won't be. Because we don't understand the law and understand the tricks that you can do. And one of the things with myself, I still personally do take on clients under packages, which I'll be speaking tomorrow briefly on. And one of my things I find is I get great delight in finding ways legally to help clients save tax. And I know that when I deal with clients, I can generally get a better result than almost anyone else in my business. Only because, again, I know the area pretty well. I've put a lot of time to learn it. I've been going to wealth seminars for years. I pretty much know every speaker here's strategy, how they work. Some of it I've done myself and do myself. So it's very much about knowing the tax breaks, knowing what you can do. One of the things, for example, is about 2 years ago I worked with a client who their father died, left him about 30 properties through a subdivision. Because of the way the will was done up, they're going to be up for $1.2 million of tax. Just simply by using a few tricks and the way we did it legally, we got the tax down from 1.2 million to 0. Who thinks that's sexy? I can't do what Derek does. Derek can do really good breakdancing and that, and the guy at the back there. He's actually pretty good. So ask him to moonwalk for you later on. So Seriously, that's just one example. And there's been various clients, even recently, who I've managed just with a simple bit of, again, legal accounting to get tax reduced. And as I'll show you today, little things like how you structure yourself can make all the difference in how much tax you pay. And I know in my own affairs every year. I mean, recently I had a tax bill come up, and just simply by, again, researching, checking into things a bit more detailed, I've managed to solve 15 grand of tax almost immediately just the other day. Just simply by a couple of little tricks. And my belief is everything counts. Better in my hands than in theirs. So, Alfred the Great, a famous English king, said about ignorance, how knowledge liberates, knowledge is power. The saddest thing about any man is he be ignorant. The most exciting thing is that he knows. So who today is committed to be educated? Because that's what it's about. Knowledge is power. Who thinks that Richard Branson knows more about wealth building than you? I think we can all agree on that one. Knowledge and opportunity. So there's a famous story about Kerry Packer's lawyer, tax lawyer he used to use, a guy called Neville Coombs, which a client who knew Neville Coombs told me about. The story goes that a client before Coombs worked exclusively for Packer, but this client had gone to 3 or 4 different lawyers to try and get out of a contract which is going to be making him up for $1 million. And they kept saying to him, no, you're stuck with the contract. In desperation, he heard about Neville Coombs and turned up in his office. Coombs takes the guy's paperwork, reads it through, and after 10 minutes, he puts it down and says, okay. He goes, here's the deal. He said, I can get you out of this contract. And the client goes, fantastic, what do I do? Coombs says, pay me, and remember, this is 25 years ago, so it's worth a lot more than that now. He said, pay me a $5 grand check, and I'll tell you the answer. The client goes, $5 grand. Now, imagine that's like 50 grand today. So to pay me a $5 grand check, and I'll give you the answer. And the guy goes, let me think about it. He walked off. Half an hour later, he walked back in and gave Coombs a check for $5 grand. Coombs gave him the answer. He got out of the contract. Who thinks that kind of knowledge on tap is worth the money? Who here would pay 50 grand to get out of $1 million? Who'd pay $5 grand to save 15 grand you otherwise wouldn't have saved? It's pretty simple, isn't it? And that's one of the secrets about how the wealthy think. Don't so much look on the cost, look at the value. I'm the kind of person that when I buy clothes, for example, I would rather pay $300 for a really good shirt, which will last me a few years, than pay $20 at Target, which will last me a few months. Anyone else like that? I've actually got a very sparse wardrobe. I always shock people when they see my wardrobe, my close friends. I don't have a lot of clothes because I buy generally great quality clothes and I wear them out. And I annoy my wife immensely because she'll see me wearing the same clothes over and over again over a few days. Anyone else got husbands or friends like that? I think it's a male trait, pretty much. But seriously, it's the same kind of deal. When you're choosing advisors or getting knowledge, you really want to make sure whether you go with 21st century accounting or whoever you go with, but you're going to be getting value and you're going to be getting results. And and make sure you know what and have enough knowledge to be dangerous. Because remember, when you're at that auction buying that property, you're not necessarily going to have your accountant there holding your hand telling you what name to buy it in. You need to have enough knowledge to know there's an issue. Before I sign this contract at auction or an offer and acceptance, what name do I put this property in to make sure I don't pay twice as much capital gains tax as I could otherwise? What name should I open this broking account that I'm now opening up with the margin lenders or with my Halifax trading to do my Forex trading? How should I be opening my internet marketing account? Are they good questions? And believe me, these are questions that could save you a lot of tax and a lot of problems later on, because when the ATO are auditing you, and I speak as a former auditor, the ATO don't go by your law of attraction. They don't go by your inspired mindset for the moment. They don't look at that. They just look at the legal form of your paperwork and did you do it properly, or are you up for more tax than you should be? Correct? Sadly, that's how it works. They're not going to sit there and have tears and get all loosey-goosey in the law of attraction with you. That's how it works. That said, we had an ATO auditor around our office not long ago on some client matters who we were dealing with. And he and I got talking, and he was quite fascinated by the fact, because when he first came was when my neck was really bad back in May. Anyone around heard me speak when I had that issue with my neck? Yeah, a couple. Yeah, which are completely fixed. And he was around, he first started coming in the office on an audit when my neck was really bad. And so, of course, once he saw my neck was better, he said, my wife's got a bad neck, can you show me how you did it? So I ended up giving him some health lessons and about law of attraction, about all that kind of stuff. And he's quite fascinated, so there you go. So even the ATO, as I say to people, the ATO are people just like everyone else here. So who here is ready to be educated and go beyond the mirror? Okay. Protecting your assets. Or as Lou Harty did, she actually took the T out one seminar. She stuck up and changed her presentation, so protecting your assets. 4 good reasons to protect your assets. And for some light-hearted humour, based on sobering truth though, the world has really gone insane. Here's some warning labels showing how seriously big companies are now taking asset protection. Do not eat on an Apple iPod. Do not use while sleeping on a hairdryer. Anyone ever had like hair drying insomnia? Like, my favourite, an electric rotary tool. This product is not intended for use as a dental drill. I love that one. And this costume is not suitable for flying on a Superman costume. I mean, funny, but based on truth. I mean, I've heard some insane situations. Our local parks now, often many of them don't have swings, and the reason they haven't been doing them in Perth is they're afraid of kids getting injured and suing the council. So they're now getting more safer playground equipment, which are just dead. I remember my cousin many years ago actually watched Mary Poppins movie and got inspired, and he jumped off the roof with an umbrella and actually got seriously injured. So he may have sued the Channel 7, who knows. But seriously, that's where things are going now. That was Neil, by the way, Derek. Okay, 4 good reasons why you've got to protect your assets or your assets. You'll be sued 3 times in your lifetime according to stats. And guess what? As Queensland, you have the wonderful honour of being the 5th worst in the world of lawsuits per head. Give yourself a clap. Well, not really, but New South Wales number 2. Who wants to guess what's number 1? Hotel California. Yeah, so there you go. So New South Wales number 2, Queensland number 5. Now, if you're going into business and you're going to start building wealth and going out more and making money, do you think you're going to be higher than the average or lower? Higher. The moment you start getting serious about making wealth, you become a target. You pop your head up above the radar and ding! You know a lawsuit risk. I could do a puppet show from here, couldn't I? You know, that'd be fun, wouldn't it? One time, actually do the whole seminar on puppets. Punch and Judy, you know. Sorry, I think it's the Gold Coast. I think you guys just make me be really silly. I'm normally really straight and normal, aren't I, guys? You guys, I think it's your energy. Don't rely on insurance. Well, the thing is, insurance is fantastic, but as I mentioned to you about PI policies, I faced a nervous week of waiting to see if my PI policy would cover me on that particular claim. So, let me ask you something. On your insurance policies on your rental property and on your car, put your hand up if you've read your policies cover to cover. Someone here has. Wow, you're amazing.
I had to. I work for an insurance company.
Oh. Well, you cheated, mate. But well done. So there you go. So the fact is, you are relying on the insurer's good grace to cover you. What's your name, sorry? Kurt? Yes. Do insurers always pay out claims, Kurt? No. They prefer not to? Yes. Spot on, yep. Why would insurers not want to pay out a claim? They're a profit-making business. They're not a charity. They've got a budget for claims, haven't they, Kurt? They've got an actual budget for claims, and if they're hitting their budget, they're like, yikes, we don't want to pay these claims out. So remember something, if they have got a reason not to pay your claim out, they won't. And for example, if you're a gynecologist and you get sued, like say, many, many years, like 24 years after the baby gets born by the baby who's got a defect because of forceps or whatever else, chances are your PI policy now lapsed and you may not be covered. Not just that, remember, if you sued 20 years later after an event, for example, what's likely to have happened to damages award in the meantime? So let's say that your public liability policy 20 years ago was 1 million, but now they pay out 5 million. Guess who pays the other 4 million? Who pays it? So insurance is important, But don't fall into the trap of thinking, hey babe, I'm fine, I've got my insurance. Okay? Not just that, you've got your duty of disclosure, which Kurt I'm sure knows about. You have to disclose everything to the insurer that's material to the contract. If you don't, they can either reduce your claim or, in a worst case scenario, not pay you at all. Who here has declared all your speeding fines and infringements to your car insurer? You're good. Wow. Few good people here. Most people haven't. If the insurer goes to pay out and that comes up, that could be an issue. Yep, spot on. My wife used to work in car insurance, and she said the number of abusive calls she got when they would decline claims because people hadn't properly told them stuff. One of the ones that happened I can remember was they'd insured somebody, and what happened was on a particular day, the 22-year-old son, because the policy didn't cover anyone under 24, and the 22-year-old son had to race down the shops, and he did, and smash the car. And she had the father abusing for 20 minutes because they refused to cover. So, believe me, you want to have asset protection because insurers will not always pay out. Okay? Third, governments want your money. Don't steal from whatever you do because the government hates competition. But seriously, I mean, you think about what's happened today with government. I mean, it concerns me immensely, and one of the reasons I like Jamie and the Academy so much. Jamie and I think very similarly in these kind of things. When you've got governments like in WA now that have passed confiscation laws where you can have your house confiscated from you under proceeds of crime legislation, just like that, I mean, it's pretty serious stuff. And we were told in West Australia 10 years ago, it's only for the bikies. We'll never enforce it unless you're a bikie. They've just now doing a test case on a guy who grew cannabis in his backyard. The court actually, although they found him guilty, said it's a minor offence, you've never offended before. They gave him a spent conviction, which means there's no conviction. They're still trying to get his house off him. They're trying to steal his house off him. There's an outcry in the paper about it. Okay? Right now they're passing laws in WA which allow the police to stop people and search them without a reasonable suspicion. Okay? So governments more and more are the greatest threat to your wealth. Okay? So you want your assets protected from creditors, from governments. And everybody else wants it too. So there you go. That's me and Derek, this picture. Okay, basic strategy. Let's get into some facts. So now you understand that. Now, if you haven't structured yet, or if you're in the process of doing it, keep this in mind. Straw man, person of substance. Now, let's just find, is there a couple here who doesn't mind being an example, who one of you is like at risk in business and the other one stays at home? Anyone? You are. Oh, perfect.
We both work.
You both work? Employed?
Self-employed, full-time.
You employed?
Yeah.
And you're self-employed? Ah, okay, you're a good example. What's your names? Sean?
And Ingrid.
Sean and Ingrid, hi. So Sean's self-employed. Do you run through a company or in your own name?
Trust.
A trust? Okay. You're actually a good boy.
Good boy.
Yes, he's got things. But okay, a perfect example. Now, Sean and Ingrid, so Sean's self-employed. What do you do for work, Sean? Personal trainer. Okay. That's actually quite a good example here. And Ingrid, what do you do?
Personal training.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
But you're employed. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, of the two of them, who's at high risk of being sued? Sean. Why?
Because he's more likely to have money.
That's one way of looking at it. What's the other reason? There's a very simple reason. He's self-employed. He's in business. That's right. So his risk is higher. Because people are far less likely to sue an employee, even though they can, because it's harder than it is for a business person, okay? So therefore, who should really control the assets in his family? Sean or Ingrid? Is that pretty clear? Okay. So who should be the one putting their name at risk out there in terms of not... Sean or Ingrid? Okay, Ingrid should be the one controlling the assets. Sean should be the one putting himself out as a sacrificial lamb. So in other words, Sean should be the director of any companies where there's a lawsuit risk. Ingrid should not be on that at all. Now, let me ask you something. How many people here are joint directors of a company? In this room. Yeah, there's always a few. So For example, with Sean's trust, who should be the director of that trust? Sean and Ingrid or just Sean? Spot on. Is that pretty clear? So the idea, so now let's say that Sean and Ingrid want to buy shares, okay? Who should control the shares, Sean or Ingrid? Ingrid, agree? Or a family trust which Ingrid controls, agree? If Sean and Ingrid want to buy a property, who should control that, Sean or Ingrid? Ingrid? Is that pretty clear? Ingrid's liking this more and more. Oh, don't worry, my wife loves this. She's told me, you better behave yourself, buddy. Now, Ingrid loves this one. So, Sean, you better behave yourself, mate. Okay. Do you all get the concept? Is that pretty clear? Clear as mud? Okay. Now, some say, well, what if I'm single, or, what if I'm buying lots of different things? What do I do here? Because the fact is, not a lot of us in a couple situation. Well, understanding this, I'll just show you about multiple structures and then just keep fine-tuning this concept that I'm showing you. We'll just take the video onto this if we can. So, using Sean and Ingrid's situation, picking on them, seeing as they put their hand up, we've got a family trust right now, okay? Now, just to explain what a family trust is, a family trust, in simple terms, it's also known as a discretionary trust. It's a trust set up where no one actually controls the assets. So it's a bit like the other day with my children when I was trying to find out who stole the chocolate biscuits I just bought. Not one of them owned up to it. So either it was God the Tooth Fairy or one of them wasn't telling me the truth. But it's the same kind of deal with a family trust. The family trust is where it's held on trust by the trustee for pretty much everyone in the trust at the trustee's choice. So, for example, if Sean's got a family trust and he's a trustee, or his company, which is better still as a trustee. I hope you got a company as a trustee, Sean. Oh, good boy. So Sean's the director of that company trustee, I presume?
No, I'm the director.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
I used to also be self-employed, so I've only recently gone
Oh.
to full-time.
Okay, so obviously you're going to be fixing that after this seminar. Fantastic news. So what happens is, let's say that they fixed it. Sean is the director of his company here. So the beneficiaries will be Sean, Ingrid, any children. Do you have children? Oh, 2. And any companies they control, and any charities as well included, okay? So pretty much any of those people are entitled to get that